Hello and welcome to Driving Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into this week's movie, I want to talk to you about our Patreon. If you head over to patreon.com/Driving Double Feature Podcast, you get fun games, fun conversations, all for $5 a month. You help support us and you get fun content over there. But getting into today's movie, we're talking about Sam Raimi, people. It's time to talk about a Sam Raimi flick. Oh, and guess what? We're going to talk about one of his most normal movies that he's ever done. Maybe not, because he's done a baseball movie that I've never seen. I bet you that one's pretty normal. I forget the name of that movie.
For the Love of the Game.
For the love, have you seen it?
Isn't that the name of it? For the Love of the Game?
I think
It's
so.
like that it's like a Kevin Costner baseball movie.
Yeah, here, I'm looking through it.
No, I have not seen it.
Okay. Yeah, For the Love of the Game with Kevin Costner and Kelly Preston. Yeah, this is during a weird period in his career, known for making Evil Dead 1 and 2, Dark Man, Army of Darkness. And then he made like A Simple Plan, For the Love of a Game, The Gift, the Spider-Man movies. I don't know, man has a very interesting career, I guess. And this one is one that is often forgotten about. It was a flop in its day. It cost $17 million, only made 16. But though it was a financial flop, it was actually a critical hit. Released in 1998, starring Bill Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton, and I should say Bridget Fonda as well. And yeah, I had never heard of this movie until maybe when I was in film school, which I guess how long is that? Maybe like 10 years ago, which is kind of that's a little scary to think. When this was shown off in one of my classes about neo-noir films, and I really enjoyed it at the time, and I've been wanting to rewatch it for a while, so I thought, why not choose it now, especially since we just watched One False Move. And Ryan, have you ever heard of this one? Have you ever seen this one?
I have seen this one before
Okay, nice.
because I was watching like some Oscar nominated movies, and this is an Oscar nominated movie.
Yeah, Billy Bob actually was nominated for his performance in this movie. He was beaten that year. Affliction. I'm forgetting his
Oh,
name.
James Coburn.
Yeah, James Coburn, and I've heard plenty of places that people think that this was the more deserving award, even though James Coburn is good in Affliction. Which Affliction is a great movie. It's kind of a
It is a
similar
great movie.
aesthetic.
Very, very depressing movie.
Yes, very depressing, very cold movie. A Simple
Yeah,
Plan.
it's very cold. I needed jackets.
Yeah, they're wearing
Just like this
jackets the whole
movie.
movie. Yeah, another cold movie. 1998 was a cold year, I guess. But yeah, cool. So this is both a rewatch for both of us. And I guess this is based off a book. It was in development hell for a really long time. I guess Ben Stiller was tied in starring in this movie at one point, which would have, yeah, I don't think it would have worked. I'm happy to see Bill and Bob in this movie. Or I should say Bill and Billy. That sounds a lot better.
Billy.
Yep. Oh, and Gary Cole, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, gotta love having Gary Cole.
You gotta love Gary Cole.
Yes. But the way how this movie is set up, Bill Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton, they are brothers, and they just living their normal life in a small town. And then all of a sudden, when they're out for a drive with their buddy Lou, played by Brent Briscoe, they accidentally crash their car, and then they go out into the woods, and guess what? There's a plane full of money. And this is kind of where the dilemma starts, because Bill Paxton is your clean-cut dude. He's just like your normal everyday guy doing his thing at the feed store. And then his brother, he's a little slow. That's probably the best way to put it. And then Lou, he's just kind of the town drunk. And both of them want to take this money for themselves. And Bill Paxton, he is very against it, or I should say Hank. And this is where, like, I think it's fun that Bill Paxton is the most clean cut one of the group here. He's the most like uppity person. That's the way they put it for this whole thing. He uses big words. Like at one point he says, I guess at some point he said insinuation, and Lou did not like that because he brings that up multiple times during this movie.
Yeah, well, that's the thing of this one. Lou and Jacob are both very stupid. And
Very stupid.
I'm not, and honestly, like with some of the stuff Bill Paxton does in this movie, he's not the brightest either. But
Which is what makes
um,
it so funny that everybody treats him he's like he's really smart, but he's pretty stupid in this movie.
he's not as bad as the other two, but he's definitely not the brightest guy either. So
Yeah.
it, he's like the brains of the operation, and they find all that money, and they're like, he's dead. Like, who, like the pilot's dead. Who cares? This is our
Hmm.
money now. It just,
Hmm.
and he's like the only one. It's like, do you don't think they're like people are gonna look for $4 million? Like this guy's just not cruising around with his bank account.
Yes, exactly. And like, but the one thing about this movie is it seems like everybody can be convinced of something. You just prod at them long enough and get at them long enough, eventually they will succumb because that's what these two do. They constantly are just like, well, we're going to take it for ourselves. You wouldn't turn us in. I'm going to take this. And eventually Bill Paxton has to make his like step and be like, okay, I will keep it and we can't use it immediately. If nobody comes looking for it, then we can split it up and then we can spend it. But right from the rip, the allegiances are broken almost immediately because it's like a huge deal that Bill Paxton's like, don't even tell your wife, like to Lou. You can't tell your wife. Bill Paxton goes home and tells his wife immediately.
You're leaving out one thing. Like almost immediately after they find this money,
Uh-huh.
they're driving home,
Oh
and
yeah.
the they run into like one of their cops. So it's a small town, so they know who the cop is. And Bill Paxton's just kind of like talking to him normally, like, yeah, we're just kind of out and about, hanging out type of thing. And
Mhm.
and then I think it's Jacob comes over like, hey, by the way, we found a crashed airplane over there in the woods. You might want to go
Mhm.
check it out.
Yes,
And
yeah.
and, and Bill Paxton's just like, what? Like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, if we tell them that we found the plane, then they're not going to think that we stole the money if we told them about it.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Oh my God. Yeah, it's just moments like that. I think that's what makes this movie work so well is it's like a heist movie if the heist was done by a bunch of bumbling idiots because it's just you almost look forward to every moment in this movie because you just want to see how they do something wrong constantly. Like there is never a time where I feel like the right choice is ever taken and they just screw it up
Absolutely
every
not.
step of the way. And that's part of the fun when you follow this movie. It's just like, how are they going to like hide everything? How are they going to keep it going? Because yeah, they tell the cop about the plane, but the cop seems pretty incompetent himself. Every step of the way, kind of lets everything go. Um, but what the movie gets at here is that like greed kind of eats at everybody. So Bill Paxton, who seems to be the most stand up of the bunch, actually ends up becoming the most almost. And I mean, they even say it later in the movie. Billy Bob goes like, "Do you ever feel evil?" And that's kind of like Bill Paxton almost turns into like this evil greedy man. Like as soon as he gets his hands on his money, he has this huge grin on his face. And then for the rest of the movie, he like there's like that long sequence where he convinces his wife why it's good to spend money. I mean, it's like a few minutes of him like going like with his pregnant wife is like this will be good for the kid and of course Bridget Fonda she's not she at first she's against it but then by the end of the movie same thing greedy to her and she becomes probably the most evil one of the bunch.
I think it's funny because she originally it was just like very against it, like no, like this is too dangerous, like we can't do
Mhm.
it. They go to bed, and then as soon as like they wake up the next morning, it's like, so like the best way to hide this money is like you have to put some of it back in the plane because then they won't think like the whole it was stolen or what.
Hmm. Yeah, she becomes the mastermind of some of like the worst bits of this. Because this is way later, but might as well bring it up now. Because they start to make alliances with each other, and she's the one who comes up with this scheme to get Lou to confess to a murder that Bill Paxton commits at one point in the movie. And she's the one who's like, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to invite him over to drink, and then you're going to tape record him, you're going to get him real drunk, and you're going to get him to fake admit to this and hold it against him. And that's becomes one of the most devastating parts of the movie. It's really good how like it kind of like everything just falls apart. And I gotta say, I Billy Bob was nominated for this role. I do really like him in this role personally. He plays dumb really well. He does, because it's almost devastating because he might be one of the first ones to want that money, but pretty quickly he's like, I don't want any part of this. This has completely ruined everything in my life.
I really like Billy Bob's arc in this movie because
Yes.
he's a really simple guy. He loves just hanging out with his brother and his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talked about like he said himself, he's like what a loser he is because he's like I've never even kissed a girl, and
Yeah. Oh, which is one
I
of the saddest scenes in the movie because he's like, I don't care at this point. I just want this money so I can have a girl because I want to feel that at some point.
and because he even says um he's like because Bill Paxton's like, well, what about, what's her face? You were and her were kind of sweet on each other. It's like, well, her friends bet money that she couldn't go steady with me for a month. So
Hmm.
and that's so they like that's the only way he was able to get a girlfriend by like this terrible bet.
Yes. Yeah,
And
but it's like but he still's like such a like nice guy that he sees the positive in that because he's like, oh, sometimes she saw me in the hallways and would wave at me, and she didn't have to do that. That was nice of her. So it's just like it's he always tries to find something.
yeah, he's just looking for this money to better his life. He's not necessarily like greedy from it. He could see like it being prosper because the Lou and Hank, Bill Paxton, are fighting over who gets possession of the money, and Jacob, Billy Bob is just kind of like just as long as it's just great that we're able to get all this money together. Isn't this awesome type of thing?
Hmm. Yeah.
And but by the end of it though, he's a very good natured guy, at least on the surface, it seems.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's had to do some really awful stuff by the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, though, he is just so mentally worn out, and he just like whatever light was in his eyes is just gone, and he's like I'm tired. I want it to stop.
Yeah. Oh my God. And he gets Bill Paxton. He's like, either you're gonna have to kill me or I'm gonna kill myself. And it's really hard to watch. It makes for a really great final scene. Because I mean, like we've skipped over so much, but just like so much happens because very, very early into the movie, they almost get caught because they're back at the plane, and then some guy on a snowmobile just comes up and is about to go to where the plane is, and Billy Bob, he like his character's name is Jacob. Jacob gets scared and just hits him on the back of the head, and they think they kill him. But this is like where like everybody loses a bit of humanity because he actually is alive, and Bill Paxton is alone with him because he was trying to hide the body, and Bill Paxton suffocates him to death in that moment to keep the money. And that's what's fun because later on in the movie a guy he holds a guy at gunpoint, Gary Cole, and Gary Cole's like, well, you're not that type of person. You're just like you're a guy. You're not cold blooded. But we know the whole time Bill Paxton has murdered multiple people at this point, and he just shoots him right then as soon as he says that.
Yeah, like at that point, Bill Paxton has like a body count.
Yeah, which is insane to me because I had forgotten a lot about this movie. Like I remember like people are stupid and just everything goes wrong, but I had forgotten how ruthless Bill Paxton is in this movie. And like one of the best scenes in this movie is that scene where they're all getting drunk together for Lou's confession. And you don't know where that scene's gonna go because you think that Jacob is with his brother, and then you don't think it because Jacob starts to be like, oh, Lou, you're more of a brother to me than him. And then they start making fun of Bill Paxton, like talking about how he drinks whiskey, like he's just like a loser pretty much. And you can tell how Bill Paxton is just getting angry. Like he is just upset. But it shows you that Jacob is a little smart because it does get Lou to pretend to be Bill Paxton to confess to the murder. And it's like it's had
Right.
this whole scene just takes you full circle for a ride.
He's very lucky that Lou is also an idiot
Yes.
because he's like, yeah, just pretend like you're my brother confessing to the murder. He's like, all right, yeah, I
I'll do
killed him.
it. But it doesn't go where you think it's going to go because he has a tape recorder. He reveals his hand, Bill Paxton, and then Lou puts a shotgun to his head, and then Jacob, once again, he kills him to protect his brother, because that's something they talk about for the whole movie. Because Bill Paxton and Billy Bob, Bill's like, whose side are you on? And of course, Billy Bob's like, well, you're my brother, I'm on your side. So he protects him by killing him, which then ends up being where Bill Paxton kills his wife, then
Mhm.
frames and then frames Lou as killing his wife. It's just insane. And then the cops just kind of, I think they're iffy on it. They know something is up, but of course they can't prove it, because there's the whole bit where Bill Paxton's getting a haircut. And then I think the cop comes in. He's like, "Oh, you're not trying to hide something, are you? You're getting a little thin on the top." Just being a little playful.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. Like I feel like the cop. Do you think he knew at least something was going on weird?
I
Because
think so. I think he knew, but like there was just like maybe he couldn't prove it or something.
yeah,
There's no way he's that stupid. Right? But
I
I
don't
guess
know.
everyone's stupid in this movie.
Well, because like the whole bit of it is like they see the newspaper about who the suspects are in that original crime
Mhm.
about the people that wanted the $4 million, and uh, Hank's wife is notices that he kind of looks like Gary Cole, like kind of looks like one of the suspects, and it's like, are you sure that's not him? Like, are you sure that's an FBI agent? And
Mhm.
because the cop does no verification
That's
whatsoever, just like
true.
Gary Cole just shows up and he's just like, I'm an FBI agent. Like, I need to see where this plane is. And
Couldn't that go so wrong for Gary Cole, by the way? For to just to show he had to bet that that police station would just assume, yeah, he's an FBI agent.
because they even said, like, Bill Paxton's like, did you? Because he's trying to not be suspicious, but,
Mhm.
he wants to figure out if Gary Cole is who is actually an FBI agent. And he says, well, have you ever seen his badge? And he's like, yeah, I've seen an FBI badge. It looks a little different than this. And it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, but did you see his badge? Like, and he's like, no, I didn't see his badge, but I assume it's the same. And
Yeah, and
so
he starts making fun of him. He's like, "Oh, you can get a ride in his car if you want. He might even let you
he
hold
might,
his gun."
yeah. So part of me, I'm like, because just the way the sheriff acts, it does seem like he knows something, but by the end of it, he's kind of like, he seems pretty clueless to the fact of what's actually going on.
Yeah, and it is true, because Gary Cole does come up behind with him to try to kill him whenever they get to the end, because come to find out, yeah, Gary Cole is not an FBI agent, which is a fun little twist because you kind of don't know what's going to go on with that. But he does shoot the cop in the back, and then it becomes an all-out murder fest. And then yeah,
Yep.
everybody dies except for Bill Paxton, and Bill Paxton is just in the middle of all them crying, and when he gets away with it, once again, he does get away with it. But after all this carnage, after all this pain, killing his own brother, come to find out the bills weren't marked. But the people that gave the ransom money, which is what it was, took down the serial number of 1 out of 10 bills in there. So there's just, you'd be taking a chance spending any of those bills that serial number would show up in circulation, and then Bill Paxton would be caught. So it becomes a
Well, how'd
pointless
that work
endeavor.
though?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how money works. I don't know how that would work.
Well, like if you go in and like it say, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like if he gives like one of those bills to like a guy at a gas station, like he buys something
Mm,
and the guy keeps it there for however long before they deposit it at the bank,
mhm.
like that I mean, how would you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. So Bill Paxton burns the money immediately. He's like, "All right, it's burning." He even pushes his wife away as he burns his money. But I thought that I was like, maybe they could have held on to it and just seen what they could have done to it, just to see what was possible. Because you're right, there's many ways that this maybe could work. Somebody holds the money. They maybe buy
Well,
things
she
secondhand.
said let's go to another country and use it
Mhm.
there type of thing. But at that point though, he had just had enough. So I mean, it doesn't really. That's not the point. I get it, but
Mhm.
the whole point is he was just tired of dealing with it, and it just whatever. He's just instead got like a bunch of grief and a bunch of horrible things happen in his life.
Yeah, because it's such a dark ending. Because Bill Paxton, it's like years later, and he's like, there's some days where I don't think about it, but most days I think about everything that happened, and that's how it ends on this like very down note that like, oh yeah, we went on with our lives, but I have to live with everything that happened on my conscience for the rest of my life.
It, yeah, I'm just thinking about like if he had never found that money, how his
Mhm.
life would be. Like his
Yeah,
brother would be alive, and he wouldn't have this guilty conscience of knowing that
yeah.
4 people are dead because of him.
Yeah, and knowing how his wife really felt, because there's a scene where because there's multiple times in the movie where he's about to give up and burn the money, and his wife is like does this speech of like, if we don't live with this money, I'm gonna live a horrible life, and you're gonna live a horrible life, and we're gonna live poor, and I'm gonna have to go work at the library and put a fake smile on my face. It's really a devastating speech.
Yeah, well, because she even says like, I'm so sick of like having to like watch our bill. Like every time we go to the store, we have to be very careful about what we buy. And
Hmm.
she's like, we can't even go out to eat at all. We can only go out to eat if it's like a special occasion. And even then we have to watch what we order. We can't even get appetizers. So
Yeah, it
people
definitely.
just want mozzarella sticks, Nathan. They just really
You
want
can't
them.
afford the mozzarella sticks, and may I not? It's easy to choke on mozzarella sticks. At Applebee's, that's mostly what people choke on is the mozzarella sticks, the stringy cheese.
Is
But
it?
yeah, yeah, but yeah, it is. But that's because it's dangerous. I'm telling you, appetizers are dangerous. Just go get that burger. That won't affect you later in life. Uh,
Mhm.
but no, yeah, it's definitely no, that's a good bit for an all-around great movie. I remembered why I like this movie so much, and I continue to really like this movie. It's just a really tightly well-made thriller. The writing will just keep you going. It's one of those movies that never gets tiring because it's just something's always happening, and just the way the movie flows and the performances, it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one.
Personally, it's a very, very solid movie. It's just,
Mhm.
if you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend it. I
Same.
mean, it's got some great performances, not really a bad one in the group.
Mhm.
Um, Very memorable characters. Like I said, Billy Bob Thornton is exceptional in this movie,
Mhm.
and definitely a really thrilling movie that I would highly recommend.
Yeah, definitely seek this one out if you've never seen it. Not an underrated '90s movie, in my opinion. But I do think that wraps it up for this one. Ryan, remind us, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we are going to be talking about 2019 Serenity, and that is on Tubi, excuse me.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch that one. As a big fan of Firefly, it's gonna be
Hmm.
nice to go back to those characters. But
No, no, the 2019, I said it,
oh, you said
2019.
20. Oh, the Firefly movie didn't come out in 2019. Whoops. I didn't know that. The visuals were that good. But if you want to email us, you can email us at driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to check out, we're everywhere that you can get a podcast, including YouTube. So be sure to check us out over there. But until next time.
Until next time. Womp, dit, dit.